allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for coming to today's meeting. I'd like to ask you right now if you could please silence or turn off your cell phones. Board meeting attendees are asked to refrain from using their cell phones during the meeting.
We got a lot of people sending in right now, so. Come on in. Can you get in here? Hey, how you doing?
Now you're over here, huh?
Yeah, I'm trying to be everywhere. Come on in. About to finish the work, just go right there.
Oh, yeah, no. I got things.
That thing might be in the way.
Right now I'd like to open the public hearing for the unmet transit needs. Before we begin the hearings, I just want to say that all three of these, the public hearings and the public comments, that these portions of the meetings are reserved for persons desiring an opportunity to address the board on any matter. Actually, on the unmet transit needs, it's just the 3 minutes, right?
And the proposed service changes that.
Okay. So speakers are limited to 3 minutes. Persons wishing to include their verbatim remarks in the official record shall submit the same in writing. Members of the audience are asked to avoid engaging in any behavior that disrupts the orderly conduct of the meeting. Speakers are asked to state their name and address for the record prior to making their presentation. So we'll start now with the unmet transit needs. And first up we have Mike Harless.
Yeah.
Okay.
For the unmet transit need,
Can you speak in the microphone, sir?
I'm sorry.
The Golden Empire Transit District will receive public testimony identifying and commenting on unmet transit needs that may exist in Bakersfield metropolitan area. Notices of this hearing were placed in the Bakersfield Californian and Al Popular newspaper, as well as posted on the buses, the GET website, Facebook, and Twitter pages. Any person wishing to present testimony related to unmet transit needs may do so at this time. Please state your name and address for the record. If we wish your statement to be verbatim, they must be in writing for inclusion in the official record of this hearing. Mike?
For the unmet transit needs?
Yes.
There's a lot of area that get used to cover that's currently not covered. I keep on getting comments on it about, for example, A Street as not being covered. Down from California all the way down to Terrace Way. And there's a lot of areas that needs to be covered, that get used to cover, and they're not being covered at this time. A Street's just one of them. So that is pretty much a transit unmet transit need, because there's a lot of people still walking quite a distance in order to get to the bus stop on California. And there's no bus stop between California and Oak and California and G. So, anyway.
Okay, thank you.
That's for unmet transit needs.
Thank you, Mike. Next up we have Diane Naus. Did I say that right? Thank you.
My name is Diane Nose. I live at 516 Roberts Lane. And there is an area on the Route 22 that goes from China Grade Loop all the way over to Merle Haggard that's not being met. I know of a lady in a wheelchair that has to go along the sidewalk in her wheelchair for a mile before she meets up with the 22 in order to get downtown or any other appointments that she needs. And she has to do dialysis 2 times a week. So it's really hard for her, especially if it's really hot or if it's raining or cold. She really needs this added service to the 22 route. And this is one unmet need that needs to be addressed. Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Next up, we have Debbie Sotelo.
Hello, my name's Debbie Sotelo. I live at 6351 Acres Road. I am here today to speak on the behalf of the wheelchairs, and I agree with her and I agree with Mike about the transits not being met. I, for one, I walk, but the people and the individuals that are disabled, and they have to go on these roads. It's unsafe, for one. There's a lot of places that they have to go miles for. 47 is one of them. 47 doesn't run on the weekends. I know a lot of people in my area that have to go over that 99 bridge and have to fight with that traffic off the 99 and almost getting hit in their wheelchair. There has to be another bus that goes to Walmart or some other way. Downtown, I have a lot of people that want to in wheelchairs that want to come down here, but they can't make it because there's only 2 spaces available on that 42, and they don't want to wait another half an hour to get down here. Because by the time they get that half an hour bus to come back down here, the meeting's almost over. So what we want to do, and it's just an idea, is the people that I'm arguing with for tonight is they would like to have, and maybe you guys think about an accessibility of having one of your guild lifts, a couple of them downtown, so they're able to come to these meetings because they need to be heard. We are the ones that walk. This is their legs. This is their transportation. They need to get here. They need to be heard. This is what the problem's all about that I've been hearing on the buses. Everybody's been talking about it on the buses
That's right.
for the last 2-3 years that I've been riding them. So I do believe that everybody in this room will agree with me that if you guys are going to make a change, then you guys need to make it accessible for them to get here so you can hear them. You're only hearing people that are able to walk and be able to get around more. But there is also other elderly people without chairs that have to walk blocks to get to them. You guys, the old bus system was working out great, but I just don't understand why you guys keep changing them. You want us to change, we accept it because we are the ones that are paying it, but you're not listening. But me on the bus, that's all I do is listen and listen and listen. And my heart goes out to these people. They need to be heard. So just a suggestion, I would like you guys to think about that and make that transportation for them to be picked up downtown so they're able to come to this meeting and you can hear what they need to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. If there is no further public testimony on Tanner? Tanner Thompson?
Yeah, okay. Now, this is how to do a little bit of everything about other transit. Now, I know you more aware of me, voicing my comments and opinion about everything that is going on with the routes, and I feel that you guys are not, you are answering to everyone else but me. And I feel that you guys are, really, discriminating against my comment. Every board meeting for the past few months, I haven't heard any feedback about my comment or my concern. And I just want you guys to know that I'm very discriminating against my wonderful concern to fix this route. For you guys to answer everyone else in the room, except for me, is very opposing because I feel like every time I'm on this platform, I feel like you guys are not taking me very very well, and I need to know what is going on. I've been at almost every board meeting for the past year now, and I feel like everything that I brought to the table hasn't been hasn't came back to me. Okay.
Thank you, Tanner.
Thank you.
Okay, if there are no further public testimony on unmet transit needs, this hearing is now closed. I'd like to now open the public hearing for proposed service revisions for Route 61 for fiscal year 2016 to 2017. Golden Empire Transit will receive public comment on proposed service revisions on Route 61 to be implemented July 2016. In addition to tonight's public hearing notices also ran in the Bakersfield Californian and El Popular newspapers and were posted on the buses, the GET website, Facebook, and Twitter pages. GET's planner, Mr. Rendez, will summarize the proposed changes, and then there will be an opportunity for public comment. Mr. Rendez?
This public hearing, as you had mentioned, is for proposed changes to the Route 61. The Route 61 serves Bakersfield College, Oildale, Walmart in Rosedale, CSUB, and then it travels all the way down to Stein and Harris. It's one of the system's longest routes. The proposed service change is for improving the headway from 60 minutes currently to every 30 minutes, Monday through Friday, from approximately 9:30 in the morning until 5:30 in the late afternoon. We have a poster here which shows the proposed trips that would be added to the route. And then also there would be a minor time point adjustment for the southbound CSUB time point.
Thank you, Mr. Rendez. Is there any public testimony on the proposed service revisions? If so, please state your name and address for the record, and we ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Oh,
Mike Harless?
Yeah. Why are we doing the 61 every 30 minutes? And why is, if you guys gonna eliminate the Route 47 because of lack of ridership, why combine the two routes into one route when 47 is actually needed? Route 47 should be, in my opinion, my suggestion, it should go to every hour and put the 47 back on weekends, and doing what I just turned into her on the weekends about the turnaround, instead of going to Social Security, do the opposite of the Route 46. That way 47 can stay in on weekends, but you go from every 30 minutes on the 47 to every hour if you're going to put the Route 61 to every half hour. Because the more routes are out here, the more people you're going to get, and the more money you guys are going to make.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.
If there's no further public testimony, oh, so both of these they're all for, okay, sorry.
I'm Diane Nose, and I live on the Route 61. And I would like it to go every 30 minutes, but start on the weekdays at 6 o'clock in the morning, because I have to be at work at 7. And if it's only once an hour, I have to leave earlier and stay later, and it's hard to connect from where my job is out on South Main and Southgate. I have to take 3 buses in order to get home, and it seems like if I go from one end of town to the other, to Bakersfield College, it gets me home 10 minutes faster than if I go to the Southwest and CSUB. This way, at least I don't have to walk down to Chester in order to get to work on time. And this is what I have to do on the weekends, is leave my house at 6 in the morning in order to catch that first 22, which arrives at Chester and Roberts Lane at 6:50.
Thank you, Diane.
Thank you.
oh, yeah.
Except Debbie, or,
Yes.
okay, we'll do Debbie first, Tanner, and then you.
Okay, first of all, Mike discussed about 47. He might want it to go about an hour, but I live on that route as well. And I'm pushing, I'm already 50 years old, I can't be walking anymore. I'm almost gonna be ending up like them pretty soon. But the thing is it's very hard when I'm going to school and I get out like around 4 or 5 and I have to try and catch one bus to get to the Valley Plaza, or try to take a longer Route 42 to get down to Walmart to catch that last 47 to get to my house. I have to walk from Walmart. That's 5 miles for me at night. And walking on, like I said, that freeway is just unreal. So people don't stop for you, they don't care, it's dark, no matter if I got a flashlight or not. But having to get to school back and forth, it kills me, because I'm always trying to get there by a half an hour, or it's all the buses are running late, right? So we can't have this. And I do speak upon everybody in Bakersfield.
Yeah.
These routes, no matter how much you guys try, you guys do not get it down right. You guys, I feel everybody needs to get on that route. I feel, and I suggest somebody on that board go on those buses, Ride your own buses, look at your drivers, see the routes, ride those routes, and you'll understand what we are going through.
Exactly.
I mean, I don't know how many times you guys have this meeting. This is my first meeting, but I've had enough. Every day I hear somebody saying something on that bus about how this, and I'm one of them. I'm very tired of all this system. Somebody needs to replan the system that you've got. Work it a little bit more better. Plan it more better to where it suits everyone in Bakersfield. It's not right. So I don't know if everybody agrees, but I hope they do, because like I said, it's hard for people in wheelchairs and it's also getting hard for me. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. Tanner?
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Now, when I am riding the bus every day, I look at the poster right by, the front of the bus, and I noticed something funny about this, hearing about the route city running every 30 minutes, and then it said at the very end, pending funding. Now, that made me laugh because I know where the money is going to. It's going to executive staff. I mean, they're beyond overpaid. We are not LA, but yeah, we're paying the executive staff way more than LA. LA is way bigger than here, Bakersfield. Why do you guys allow them to get paid so much when you can take all that money and put to fix the routes, because the way the overall way we have almost every bus we're on time, and they all met at the same time. But on the new route, there's not one bus that meets at the same time. And when we were in the old route, we were able to call buses wherever we needed them, hold them for a few passengers. Now, they don't allow it unless we are at a terminal. And I feel like that is not right, and the Route 61 needs to run every half hour, no matter what, because people have to get to work on time, and they got appointments they need to go to, and school, and people need education, and you guys are fooling around and making everyone laugh. And
Thank you.
that's about it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tanner, for your comments.
Madam Chair, I have a couple questions.
Sure.
I'm sorry, what is your name?
Debbie?
On the mic.
Oh, me? Oh, sorry.
Yeah, two Debbies.
First of all, before the routes were changed, were your needs being met?
Yes, they were. You had 41, 62, 61, 47 all running on Panama and Acres and Gosford area. They were all coming, so if you missed one bus, you were able to catch another bus to get to the other bus together. I don't know how many times I didn't inflict my schedule of getting to school and my finals. My finals is, I'm going to school to improve my life, and if I fail my college, anybody here, all these people right here go to school. We're all on the same boat. We all have to miss our bus. But around final time, that's our grade. If we fail our life, but we don't want to do that. And that is exactly what's helping us fail, because we're trying to catch these buses. We're not saying that you guys are not doing a good job, but like Tanner says, you have to do something, because everybody is getting upset. You guys keep changing all these routes, and you want us to always accept the change, but a lot of people can't. You got allergy, the weather, you got hot, you got cold, you got summer coming up. A lot of these bus stops don't even have shade. Half the time I'm standing out there sweating. Umbrella, how much does that cover me? You know?
So, when you're riding the bus and you hear people complaining, excuse me, are you also hearing people say that they like the new routes?
None of them like the new routes. Everybody.
Not one single person
Not one
that
single
is riding
person
the
have
buses that you are on
Right.
say that they like the way the new routes are running.
No,
Not one.
not one. Not one. Everybody is opposing to, and it's like, I don't even want to say it, because like I said, I'm one of them, because it's like, I have to get like 4 buses. Like she says she has to get 3, I gotta get 4 just to get to school. And I have to wake up earlier than I have to be there just to get to school, because I live way out there in Southwest. And having one bus, and then like I said, Bill said, or Mike said, 47 on the weekends, those are my shopping days.
That's fine. I just wanted to have those
Right,
questions.
so, but the other thing is, yeah, to your question, there's nobody that is very happy with these routes.
All right, thank you.
Mike, you said that 47 is going to stop running, or it's being replaced?
That's what I've been hearing. You guys had a free week because to try to get the ridership going.
Is this true or
No, it's not.
not true? Okay, that's a rumor. Yeah,
Okay.
okay, that's a rumor. I was
Yeah.
just curious. I wanted to make sure that wasn't. That's okay, Mike. That was my question for you.
That's fine. That's what I heard.
Have we looked at increasing the time frame of the 30-minute headway? From one of the questions was from our proposals from 9 o'clock to 5:30. We had a request from it start at 6 o'clock. Did we look at that?
Yes, we did, and what we have proposed is what we believe the budget will allow. You'll get to wrestle with that question on at the budget workshop.
Can we, in preparation for the budget workshop, see the impact of increasing the time and
Sure.
let us take a look at it?
Sure.
So I think that's my question. Thank you.
If there are no further public testimony on the proposed service revisions, this hearing is closed. Now I need to get approval of the agenda.
I make a motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have approval of the agenda. Next up is public comments. This portion of the meeting is reserved for persons desiring an opportunity to address the board on any matter not on this agenda and over which it has jurisdiction. Speakers are limited to, once again, to 3 minutes. Persons wishing to include their verbatim remarks in the official record shall submit in writing. Members of the audience are asked to avoid engaging in any behavior that disrupts the orderly conduct of the meeting. Speakers are asked to state their name and address for the record prior to making a presentation.
Okay.
Mike, did you want to speak again?
Yeah.
Mike Harless?
I received a letter from Gina recently, and I presented some of the bus stops are how far apart they are to Cindy already, but there's other parts. From my understanding, the routes 82 and 84 are supposed to be regular crosstown bus routes, but according to her, they are express routes. I don't know what that means because of the fact, because from what our understanding, they were supposed to be crosstown system. So, but anyway, I submitted some of the bus stops in between stops to Cindy already about the bus stops. This is I mean this. So, anyway.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Just for, I don't know if some folks are gonna go after the comments, can we just respond to that letter? Are those, is that the case, what Mike is saying true?
Yes, routes that are numbered in the 80s are express routes. The 82 and the 84 are what we call limited express. They run in the local neighborhood as a collector, and then when they leave the promenade at Gosford and Rosedale Highway, they run express to downtown.
Thank you.
Diane, did you have any more comments, or was that it? Okay. Tanner Thompson?
Well, I will have one question for the board. All I want to get from you guys is feedback from every comment I made for the past year. All I want is feedback. And I feel like you guys are not giving me any feedback for my concerns for Golden by Francis District. And I would like feedback for every comment that I made for the past year. And every statement I read to you guys. Those are my words, no one else. And I just wanted to be clear to everyone. Every statement I read was from me, and those are only my concerns. And all I want is feedback for every statement that I given you and every comment Okay,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you, Tanner. Is there a way that we can look back in the record for the last year of what Tanner has submitted in writing, or
Yes,
that
that's
we-
part of the minutes of the meetings.
that we can go back through those and figure out what he's asking for in those comments, and maybe, I'm sure some of them are probably repeated, some of the things that he's done. Is that possible? And send him, we have your information, we have his email or his address that we can.
Sure. I would like to coordinate that with the board chair because I don't feel that staff is qualified to comment on some of the comments that Mr. Thompson has made.
Okay,
I also think there are some that's not warranted.
okay.
We will never discuss with public personal matters, for instance.
Right, oh yeah, I'm that's what
We're not, there are several things that are just not going to be talked about in public. So-
right. Yeah, and that's what I'd like to go through them and say, are there some things in there, if there was comments on routes or what happened to a bus, or, we'd have to go through and see what we can actually respond to, but we'll do that, Tanner.
I also believe there's probably some matters of opinion that Mr. Thompson has, and it'd be difficult for, I think, staff to respond to an opinion that Mr. Thompson has expressed. So I think there's a factual question about a route that would probably be a lot easier to comment on than
Thank-
I don't want anything from the staff. I want it to be from every board member about my concern that I gave you. I don't want it to be from the staff. I want it to be from every one of the board members is responsible.
I mean, I don't know if the board can address comments that you've made regarding routes or,
You don't know, I think at this stage, we're to summarize what his comments are and make the determination based on each comment, whether it's appropriate to respond to or whatever is the right response.
okay.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Tanner. Seeing no more public comments, we're going to move on to approval of the minutes from February 16th, 2016.
motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
We have approval of the minutes. We need the approval of the accounts payable check disbursements.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved accounts payable checks disbursements. The agreement between Golden Empire Transit District and the County of Kern, finally Elliot Kirschman.
Finally. I gave a report on this item. I don't know if it was the last meeting or the meeting before. I think it was last meeting. And Jim had a question about it and wanted to take a look at the summary of the improvements that the county has proposed.
I went to go the route twice.
Great. I'd love to hear your opinion.
It's nasty.
The route is nasty or the improvements are nasty? Both. Yeah, both.
All the above. There is a lot of work to be done on Virginia Avenue.
Oh, thank you very much. There's a lot of work to be done on Virginia Avenue there. The north side isn't typically as bad as the south side, but even the sidewalk on the north side is very narrow. There are some major problems with the bus stops there. I can't even imagine, some of the folks that come in here with wheelchair accessibility or walker, or even a mom with a stroller. I mean, there are some bad things. Virginia needs to be helped, and but there's only 16 stops there. So there are 60-some stops that Voice has identified that need help. Not necessarily the worst ones are on Virginia Avenue, okay? But if through synergies of dollars and construction, making everything go farther or as far as it can go, helps to go down Virginia, then our meeting today, we agreed that it needed to be done. The next round, though, I think we need to have some consensus as to what they're looking at. There are some stops in Oildale, for instance, that are dangerous. Down by State Road, they're just down and dangerous. So, dealing with the traffic that's going onto 99, coming off of 99, we've had some concerns talked about that today in our public comments. So I think we'd like to have a little bit stronger voice in picking the next group.
I've got a question for you. One of the things in our meeting was about that would be the south side where the railroad tracks are. In your opinion, I know it's bad. I mean, what the county proposed is very limited improvement on that side.
That won't work.
I mean, you can see the issue. There's just, you get off on the dirt, and then there's no way to get back across the street. There's not even a crosswalk. So it was funny in the meeting, the guy from the county said, well, this is going to be dodge the cars, but it's easy for us to, this is a personal experience for the folks in the wheelchair and moms, like you said. So I think your voice group is on the right track. I don't know what the
The
right
south
solution.
side of Virginia is very bad. It's got to have some help. It's going to have some conscientious planning, similar to what the city of Bakersfield has done. Because when the city of Bakersfield was faced with a similar kind of situation where they've got a bus stop in the middle of the block, and access is dangerous both directions, they fixed it in both directions. So we're going to have to really hammer the county into being conscientious and making sure that if the access for the bus to offload and to onload our passengers has to be safe, but then make it as safe as possible for them to get, if it is to the street, so be it. But if they get across the street on the north side where the sidewalk is almost continuous, that's going to require some crosswalks in the middle of the street or something. It's going to require some attention, not just a crosswalk, but something that has reflectors that says, be careful here, because it's not good. There's nothing good about Virginia Avenue.
So do you think that this plan is the right direction?
I think it's a good first. I think it's a good first step.
Okay.
So, but the next round, I tell you, Voice wants a bigger voice in picking the next round.
I would love to have them come to one of our committee meetings, or have them involved, or better yet, have the committee meeting on site and meet them out there. If that's, we'll get the county and your voice group or whoever else wants to meet out there, and folks that ride the bus to meet out there next time. We're going to propose.
Good news is you have a member that meets with you at the board meetings every time he shows up. That's me.
That's it. Well, good. You bring their voice.
Can I reply to what he was saying?
No, we're just we're talking about this one particular item.
Well, I have to do the bus stops.
No, I understand. I've got to finish my comments on this item, and then we need to vote on it. But
Okay.
so I think from what Jim said, I'm in support of the board adopting this agreement. Have we got past all the legalese language with the county? Have they fully agreed?
Yes, we are in agreement on all the language in the agreement.
Perfect. Is it identical to the city?
With some
Close?
very minor little things, it is.
I would agree.
Great. Well, I just want to, I'd like to personally thank the county for working through, the difficulties. We have commended the city on multiple occasions on a job well done. The county had specific challenges. I think Jim talked about the challenges on Virginia Avenue. And, once again, I'd like to reiterate that they worked. They even brought some more money to our project and was able to make some improvements, some truncated domes on sidewalk entrances from the street. They added some block grant funds to the money that we are allocating for improvements. And so I just want to thank the county, thank KernCog for helping us out on identifying that this was a proper use of transit funds, and hopefully the economy stays strong enough that we have money like this in the future to continue to make investments in our infrastructure. So I'd like to make a motion to approve the agreement between the Golden Bar Transit District and the County of Kern.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yay, so the agreement between the Golden Empire Transit District and County of Kern is finally approved. Do we have any idea, that's gotta go to the Board of Supervisors, they have to?
Yes, it's scheduled to go to the Board of Supervisors next week, and then they're scheduled to begin work after the 1st of July.
Okay, thank you. Now we'll move on to the Low Carbon Transit Operations Program Authorization. Mr. Woods?
Good evening, Madam Chair and members of the board. I'd like to present to you an opportunity through the Low Carbon Emissions Program the state adopted back in 2014. This is it's funding that was allocated through their latest auction, and this is for 2016. In order for us to complete the application, certainly the board needs to be aware of this and approve the resolution that recognizes that the funding that is available, which is basically $535,221 available for GET to invest in clean air vehicles, or low emission vehicles. And at this point, we're suggesting that we acquire 3 electric buses, 40-foot standard buses. However, this does not obviously cover the cost of those vehicles. This is a rollover. In other words, we were asking you to commit to the funds today, and for the next 3 years, as these funds become available through the auction, by the end of the 3rd year, we'll be able to commit to the 3 purchases. So at this point in time, on the request of Caltrans and the Air Resources Board, they've asked every board basically in the state to acknowledge their portion, for example, of the allocation. And number 2 is to allow the chief executive officer to enter into the agreements for certification and assurances that we will comply with all the statutes and regulations that go along with this type of funding. Okay, it's exclusively state funding coming out of the auction.
I've got a question for you. So are we guaranteed to receive the same amount of money for the next 3 years?
No.
So we're agreeing to them that we are going to buy 3 buses,
Our plan is to buy 3 buses.
but we're agreeing to that in this agreement?
Yes.
But we're not but they're not guaranteeing to us that they're going to help us fund the next 2?
We don't know how much we're going to get precisely. Much like every year we have federal transit dollars, we don't know precisely what we're going to get.
But in those cases, in the federal transit, we tell them what we think we might use on it, but we're not guaranteeing them that we're going to be spending that money.
Correct.
So what's our...
There's no obligation on our behalf to do this. In other words, by keeping these funds and enrolling them forward, there's no matching requirement that would be for federal funds. In which case, we either downsize the project to 2 buses
Or one
or
bus.
expand it to 4.
I see.
Okay, that's equally possible. And according to what my understanding is the actual cap and trade auctions have been very successful. So the state is very conservative in their approach to allowing you to allocate funds to our projects.
What other kind of strings does this attach us to?
We have to keep the money. If we get the funding, we keep it in the bank and reserve it.
Right, but let's say after we bought the buses,
Yep.
what kind of things do we agree to do?
Nothing.
So we just
Operate the buses
so we can park them?
We would not want to do that.
Okay. I'm just asking. I mean, do we have to build a special infrastructure that's coming out of a different budget, or?
We need to do that, by all means, certainly, but it can be incorporated into this project as well.
Approximately, do you think one of these buses might cost?
About $750,000 to $800,000.
So we're getting 535. That's for half a bus.
Yeah, half a bus.
Gotcha.
We're hoping that if we can consider rehabbing old buses or taking new buses if the price goes down.
That was part of my question. This is different than the program that we're
Yes.
gonna.
I have 3 programs
Okay.
in progress right now. This one has to do directly with the low carbon emissions funding source.
Okay.
There's another project we have before Current Council of Governments involving CMAQ funding for 2 additional buses. And then we have a request on a consortium of transit agencies in Central California. I believe it's Hanford, Visalia, us, and I believe one of the transit agencies who got together in CalSTART and are trying to take old buses and then rehabilitate them into the electrical market. Okay, so they'll literally gut the buses, strip them down as much weight as possible, and install electric motors and battery systems. Okay.
And those are card funds.
Okay.
So when you add these 3 programs together,
Yes.
are you hoping that a majority of the cost of these buses are going to be paid for?
Yes.
And the part that's not being paid for by these funds, we can use
I'll let you
federal.
know.
But you're trying to get all paid for.
I would come back to the board and let you know exactly what the status is.
So can you use federal FTA funds
Yes, you can.
for the remainder of it?
Yes, you could.
Okay. You answered all my questions.
I don't have any strings.
I appreciate you answering all my questions.
I appreciate it. But again, we're reaching out to you tonight to ask for resolutions to acknowledge the project and the funding and the plan for the project, and then allowing the chief executive officer to enter into the appropriate agreements and authorizations.
So is this a voice vote or is this just a?
Typically, it's a voice.
Yeah.
This resolution is going to be a roll call vote.
I think you should do one resolution at a time, so each one has their own action.
So, are we buying 1 bus a year?
No,
We're buying 3
we're
buses.
going to wait for the 3rd year and take all the funding we actually received.
So we take it and sit on it for 3 years.
Yes,
Whatever's given to us.
yes,
But we agree to buy 3 buses.
yes. But we can modify that agreement depending upon the amount of funding we get. Okay, that's part of this project. We can, at any point in time, modify the scope of the project based upon the actual funds we do receive. Okay, and that again would be reported back to this board.
Okay.
Aye. And we need a motion in a second.
I make a motion to adopt resolutions 2016-02.
Second.
Okay, for the roll call, Director Baldwin,
Aye.
Director Hunter is absent, Director Kirschman,
Yes.
Director Para.
Yes.
It passed with 3 ayes and 1 absent.
I make a motion to adopt resolutions 2016-03.
And again, it's a roll call vote. Director Baldwin, Director Hunter is absent, Director Kirschman,
Yes.
and Director Para.
Yes.
It passed with 3 ayes and 1 absent.
Thank you. Now we're going to move on to the updates. This is me. Kern Council of Governments Transportation Planning and Policy Committee and Board of Directors report. We had a public workshop on the California Public Utilities Commission. They just gave us an overview of what the Utilities Commission does, services to local government, and discussion on the transportation network companies. They're trying to, their biggest, what they're trying to do is figure out what they're going to do with Lyft and Uber, because it is a public utility. It's a transportation entity, so they're trying to figure out how they're going to, I guess, regulate them. So that was the main thing on the presentation, and then they give tips on telecommunications fraud and prevention and stuff like that. The other thing was Sal Moreno. I don't know if many of you know him, but he's the sanitation solid waste, yeah, and they do an amazing job. They have partnered with the I don't know, it was the homeless collaborative or the
homeless shelter.
The homeless shelter, and they have been responsible for cleaning up a lot of the freeways. I've been involved in neighborhood cleanups that on the weekends, and you call them and they send a dump truck out there and give you all the rakes, everything you need to pick up all the trash out there, bags, gloves, everything, and they've just done a great job. And Sal had given a report on what they've been doing as far as with the homeless shelter and to keep Bakersfield beautiful. So that's all I have for the Kern Council of Governments report. Do we have a high-speed rail update?
I think you've probably been reading it in the paper. I don't know that I have anything of substance to report beyond what you've read in the paper, other than to let you know that at your next meeting on March 15th, Diana Gomez, who is the Fresno to Bakersfield, I don't know, can't remember her exact title, but she's
project manager.
Yeah, project manager for that segment of the project, will be here to address the board.
Oh, good.
I think it's going to be the Fresno to Shafter.
I've asked her to speak.
It's not even going to Shafter.
I've asked her to speak specifically to the business plan as well as to the EIR on the hybrid alignment and what the schedule for completing that and adopting a preferred alignment will be.
I've been thinking about this since the news came out, and you know, I was pretty vocal last summer about how we make decisions about the future of GET in our facility here. And I remember in the August meeting last year, you know, we said, okay, if maybe it wasn't the August meeting, it was before that, but it's in August 2016, we're going to make a decision on, you know, what the direction of GET is going to be. And I'm sure that high-speed rail is not going to be finished with their EIR in August of 2016. I mean, it's fast approaching. But I think my own personal opinion, something for other board members and the community and the staff to think about is, you know, how we position ourselves to be in the best position. I know we have an MOU that's working out, but how can we help bring clarity to our own situation as fast as possible? I know everybody's thinking about that, but you know, whether that's just an idea, a board, you know, resolution about, hey, if you don't tell us by this date we're doing this, and you can take that to whoever you guys need to, high-speed rail, and it's I'm just thinking about how can we be in the driver's seat in this whole conversation.
Didn't we do some sort of resolution about that we had set a date that we said that we wanted an answer by that date, or we were moving on, or we haven't done that?
I think we had discussed August of 2016 because that was the date that High Speed Rail was supposed to be finished with their alternative alignment, I guess, adoption, you could say. And since that time that we had that discussion, the date has been pushed out to 2017 as the general time frame of them having a decision on this alternative alignment. But my own personal feeling is here, that does that agreement, or does that EIR coming to that new alignment, does that mean that they'll then be able to do acquisition? Does that then put us in the line for acquisition? Or does this business plan saying that the line is going to stop in Shafter and there's no money, there's no $2.9 billion to get it into Bakersfield, does that business plan then prohibit, even after an adoption of an alternative alignment, does that prohibit the high-speed rail from going into the acquisition of future alignment? So those are specific questions that we need to answer in order for us to make a good business decision here. And I'd like to have those answers. And we need, and obviously we're kind of in limbo from a facility standpoint. What we're not in limbo about is that our bus company is getting bigger, and that we're adding service, and that we're trying to provide a great service to our customers. But our facility here, in reality, kind of limits our ability to do, I think, a great job as time progresses. Right now, we don't have an issue, but in that if you read the paper, that business plan says that this line is not scheduled until 2029. I mean, that's a long time from now. That's 14 years, and so we can't stay here for 14 years. I mean, that's just we can't stay in our current configuration for 14 years. We could if we built a new facility, but back to the discussion we had a year ago is we don't want to spend your taxpayer money. Our Get Buses, gets money on building a facility here if it's going to be taken out by the high-speed rail, because ultimately the high-speed rail's money, guess whose money that is? That's your money too. And so, as in the community, we got to be able to look at you and say that we did the best job we could, trying to foresee the future and not spend money on a facility and then have high-speed rail come and pay us again and tear it down and start over somewhere else. So, as you guys are here, I want you to know that this is something we're taking very seriously, and we've got a lot of soul searching to do in the next, 6-8 months, and we're waiting for high-speed rail to help us make that decision. So that's going to be a good discussion for us to have next time. But I'd like for us all to see if it's appropriate in our own hearts and minds. That it's appropriate to sort of come up with a resolution that really shows our position, shows our hand to high-speed rail. Do you have any thoughts on that, Karen?
I think everything you've covered is what was included in my discussion with Diana Gomez, and I think she will do the best she can to try and answer those questions, but I suspect you're not going to get anything very definitive because I don't believe they have that information to be able to give that to you. And at some point, this board will have to use their best judgment and make a decision to do whatever it is we feel is the best thing to do for us to be able to continue to operate. And actually, may I ask a question? I had invited Diana to come to this meeting. She was unable to be here today, but said she could be here on the 15th. I actually am scheduled to be in Washington, D.C. on the 15th. And
Don't stay here for that.
okay, that was my question. I'm a little concerned about not being here for that discussion.
No,
Do
yeah.
your job. Do what you gotta do.
Yeah.
Okay, then I will be in Washington DC.
We're gonna ask
on
you the tough
15th.
questions.
I was wondering if I could phone in and listen. I suppose I can watch the video afterwards.
You can phone in and listen.
Yeah.
Make comments. I don't care about that. But don't not go.
Okay, thank you for that direction.
Board committee reports. Did we have a meeting of the admin and finance?
There's one scheduled for tomorrow.
Okay, facilities and equipment,
Not since our last meeting.
external affairs, I would say no, Mr. Hunter's not here. Marketing, we haven't had one, and operations and service department. So if we have any future agenda items or board comments, take them down.
I met somebody that was in a wheelchair that had mentioned to me about a stop location up next to, well, I think it's not the Olive, it's Canyon Hills Church, which is up on that,
Auburn
yeah, Auburn up there. And there's,
and facts.
yeah, Morning Drive. So there's quite a few apartments that are around that church area, and the stop is that would be west on Morning or Auburn, whatever it is, but it's basically at the bottom of the hill. And so this woman that's in the wheelchair, she rides not only Get a Left every once in a while, but she also rides our fixed route buses, rides that bus down there at the bottom. And she does not have a motorized wheelchair, and she says it's very difficult. It's easy when I want to get on the bus because I go down the hill, and it's downhill's a lot easier than the uphill. I'm sure you guys will attest to that. But she goes, when I'm going up the hill, it's a bear. And so she asked, is there any way that we can maybe either move that bus stop, or add another bus stop? So I'd like to maybe push that off to the Operations Service Development Committee to take a look at that stop location in particular. And if you guys have any of those kind of stops in the future that you go, hey, this is just, can we look at it? This committee deals with looking at those particular stops. So if there's something in particular that you want to ask, please, come back by. You can write a letter. You don't have to come show up. I know it's hard to get here, and we'll take care of it. The last time we had somebody come in and ask about a stop location, we got to them the next day. And so, we want to be responsive. Being responsive is very important to this board. And we made that a priority, and I think it's the first time I've seen you folks here. I see Tanner all the time, and that's great. But we want to encourage you to know that your voices are heard, that we wrote all this stuff down. It's a slow process. It's slow, for example, just to change a 30-minute headway, which sounds like such an easy solution, right? You have to go through this process of a hearing, and we have to look at the budget. And we have to, and then if all those things, if the stars align, it happens. What's the date? July 1st. So, it's not going to happen as fast as you would hope it was. We wish it would work faster. It's just unfortunately the nature of transit. And so I speak for myself as a board member. Hopefully, the board members, I'm sure they do. I want to thank you for coming in and being heard. I liked the comment about having the hearing in a different location, and I would like to suggest that to us for the next hearing. Why can't we have a hearing meeting at the downtown station at noon on a Tuesday or a Friday? I don't see any problem with that, and I, as a board member, am totally willing to set out some chairs, we'll rent some chairs, we'll have a board meeting, we'll bring a microphone, whatever. And make it easier for you folks. I know, we had folks that have to leave to catch the bus, and I would like, board comments or something like that, so we can respond to these folks that have comments at the beginning of the meeting, because we have folks that are leaving. I mean, Tanner, he complained tonight that we're not getting back to him, but many times we respond to him in our board comments section of our meeting. And he's frustrated because we don't talk about the things that he's asking about, but we do talk about them. So, maybe as a suggestion for our agenda is to move these comments towards the beginning, so that, these folks can, at least get some dialogue back and forth, so they feel like they're being heard. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you for coming out, and thank you for being part of the process.
Thank
And
you.
please continue to do so.
Thank you.
Mr. Baldwin?
I think it's time that we take a look at the old routes versus the new routes and what makes sense, if anything, can be done. You can start
Thank you. I'll get that.
slow.
Thank you.
I don't care how fast it goes. I just need to know that we're taking a look at stuff. This isn't the first time we've heard this. I've reported here from the bus drivers and from people that I know that ride the routes. So if what we've done is working in places, great. If it's not working in places, great. Let's identify it and see what can be done.
Thank you. I have a couple. First, I wanted to say, on to what Elliot said, I like the comment about getting a get-a-lift over to the downtown station before the meetings, that maybe, like Elliot was saying, a lot of people have to leave or they're coming in late because, the bus situation getting here. So if we can tell them if you want to come to the meeting, be at the downtown station at this time, and we'll get you to the meeting at the proper time, so everybody's not rushing around trying to get things situated while the meeting has started already. The other thing I'd like to bring up is I've been in talks with the city manager's office. They are applying for some Rose Foundation money to update the active transportation plan. Both the city and the county have a bicycle transportation plan, but that's not enough anymore to try and apply for certain funds that you can get state and federal. And so we're trying to get money to update the ATP, and that is not just bicycle, it's pedestrian also. And the city is applying for some Rose Foundation money. KernCog has some money already that they had got from the previous ATP that they're willing to chip in. I'm going to go to the county and ask if they would either apply for Rose Foundation money, and also the High Speed Rail is doing their station area plan, and they're including bike and pedestrian in that plan. And I'm going to ask if they would just chip the money in, and the consultant will do the entire plan for the metropolitan area instead of doing a bunch of separate little plans. It'll be one plan, and I'd like the board and staff to look at maybe applying for some TDA money in our next budget to chip in some money also to get this active transportation plan done. And that's all I have for tonight. Now the Chief Executive Officer's report.
Okay, thank you. I've already commented on a couple of things, but let me tell you those that I haven't. As you know, I like to bring up how many times we're audited. We have just recently completed our FTA drug and alcohol compliance auditing program. There are federal regulations that require us to do drug and alcohol testing, including random testing of all employees in safety sensitive positions. And we were recently audited on that by the FTA, and we received the letter this week saying that everything is in compliance. So we're pleased about that. As I mentioned, I will be at the APTA Legislative Committee meeting on March 13th, 14th, and 15th. I'm pleased I've already got a meeting with Congressman Valadao, who, as you may know, was one of the authors of the FAST Act, so it will be nice to be able to thank him in person for that. We did send him a note, but to be able to thank him in person will be good, and we're working on getting a meeting with Congressman McCarthy, which is a little more difficult. On Thursday and Friday of this week, I will be at a California Transit Association Executive Committee meeting. This morning, the Board of Supervisors appointed a new member to our board. It's Greg Bialy, who is the president and CEO of Tajon Ranch. So he has not yet been sworn in, but I wouldn't be surprised if he would be here by the meeting on the 15th. So in my absence, you'll have to all welcome him graciously, which I know you will do. Mark your calendars for April 5th, which is a board meeting day, but at 2 o'clock that afternoon, we're going to have a media event to finally go public with the fact that we were certified on our EMS program, and we will have someone here from the FTA to be part of that media event, and then we'll be giving us accolades at the board meeting later that evening. And then on April 18th, and I'm sorry I don't have the time, but I'll get it to you before the 18th, we'll also be having a media conference with the City of Bakersfield and the Voiced Group and the Independent Living Center to 2 o'clock, thank you, to celebrate the work that has gone on for the last couple of years that has led to the red curbing of our bus stops, as well as the PTMISEA funding and the GET funding for accessibility improvements to our bus stops that the city has accomplished. So
On the 5th at 1 o'clock?
is it 2 o'clock?
On the 5th?
On the 5th,
I assume.
yes. And that concludes my report.
You'll email us all these dates?
We will.
Okay.
I just like to give you early notice so that you can get your busy calendars squared away. Oh, I have one more, I'm sorry. March 4th, which is this Friday at 9 o'clock. Proterra, which is a bus manufacturer of an electric bus, will be here to demonstrate their bus. Others have been invited, in addition to GET family, to come out and climb around on the bus, look at the motor. It's completely different than looking at a diesel or a CNG engine, and take a ride on the bus. This is their second generation bus. Their first generation was a slow charge and required a very extensive charging structure to go along with it. This one is a fast charge and has a longer range, they claim, and they're very interested in getting our business, knowing we have future funding for electric buses. So
What time was that again?
it's 9 o'clock on March 4th. And if you want to just come around the back, they'll have the bus probably out back.
I will be in Sacramento, or I will be here.
We'll get you a ride another time that I'm sure will be back again in the future.
Madam Chair, to that end, when we buy the 3 buses, are we going to buy all the same from the same one? Or will we buy 3 different ones?
Typically, you would buy them all from the same one. The funding that Mr. Woods outlined tonight actually potentially could give us 7 electric vehicles, and perhaps 2 or 3 of those would be ones that we would be rebuilding current buses that we have. So they would be different, but the balance you likely would purchase those all from the same vendor.
So that they use the same charging system, you don't have to get different.
And the same parts and,
Was Proterra, were they the company that came out to the Kern Cog, they gave a presentation, or was that?
yes.
Okay. Any more comments? That I will to adjourn the meeting.